that we developed and used by the rickshawala to a car dealership and even KBC. The innovators of this system was the National Payment Corporation of India, and today we have the honor to have the head of blockchain from the NPCI, Mr. Sudeep Chaudhari, talking about distributed digital public infrastructure. Please give him a round of applause. Sir, please, the stage is all yours. A round of applause for him, please.
Yeah, so I've spent about 18 years in the industry, planning two countries. I went the other way. I went into core business, then business consulting, and slowly moved towards technology and different, then moved to even more deeper technology, then went into R&D. And right now, it's been very humbling, but it's been a great opportunity for implementing something that is very foundational for our country right now. And what we call within LGCI as distributed digital public infrastructure. Right? Before the introduction, somebody talked about UPI. Right? Now, anybody who's traveled would see that whatever we do with Google Pay, we get to do that in other countries as well. Right? If you want a QR code scan, you will find it in other countries as well. It's not that a digital payment infrastructure is fundamentally unique to UPI or India, right? But it is being available in across the world. But where we stand out is that we've been able to unbundle it today, irrespective of the bank, where you bank, irrespective of the technology service provider that you choose, you can access your bank account and do the transaction with anybody, irrespective of the bank account they have, and irrespective of the technical service provider they choose. And that's fundamentally is called unbundling, right? So that's the foundation of what UPI is built around, and that we've seen a huge success, and that's the reason world looks at us with awe, because that's the reason that we could actually get to 154 million users and counting as we go forward, and we are moving towards a billion transactions a day. Right now we stand around 750 odd million transactions a day, and we're moving towards it. Add on it, we also have 8 years, there's another 150 million transactions, 150 million users who use only Aadhaar-enabled payment services, right? Who do not have a smartphone and use their Aadhaar, predominantly from the working class, blue-collar laborers who are going to be using that. So this unbundling is what made this platform work, and hence NPCI understood that we are better serving the nation by being in the business of building platforms. And that's where we started exploring this new concept of Web3 with the angle of what kind of a Web3 platform NPCI should build for the country. And what should that platform solve for the country? And if it solves the country, what does that mean? On a big level, we knew when we started this journey that we want to stay in the range of being an unbundled platform service provider, where we stay at a platform level and we allow the markets to stay in, to do the innovation and take the products to the market. Because they do it much better than governments do. They do a much better job penetrating markets, right? And we want to adhere to that capitalist structure and enable that capitalist structure and get it at mass. So that's the fundamental thought process behind digital distributed infrastructure. And I have a very strong key title. Sounds very fun. This head of India blockchain. And the first question when I met my CEO, I asked him, "What does India blockchain really mean? What is that?" Right? I mean, what's a blockchain? Is a platform? It's a program? What is it? So it was essentially a vision, right? So we become India's Web3 digital transactional and enablement platform through flexible, scalable, secure digital public infrastructure for the financial industry. So we still are limiting ourselves to the financial industry, but we basically want to make sure that there are two basic tenets we have. We have to be flexible, we have to be scalable, and we have to be secure. And these three things is what we want to bring to the within the Web3 infrastructure of the country, and make sure that we become the premier institution to do that. Right? That was further divided into, I was entrusted to divide it into a mission statement, which we came up to to build a secure, interoperable, scalable, and distributed platform is really to offer use cases in the financial ecosystem, including digital assets, NFTs, smart contracts, and programming. So this is the mission with which digital public infrastructures are being created in India, and that's what India blockchain is all about. It is to build an ecosystem of blockchains which allows these things to happen on scale. Now, as we all know, that in the distributed digital infrastructure, digital goods can be transacted without central enabling entity. Right? That's the fundamental idea of a blockchain, and we all know that. Right? In the process, we came across something called a digital asset. The every transaction has two parts to it. That one is digital asset, saying that hey, this is a digital asset that you own. It could be NFT. It could be digital assets are not just private to our world in Web3. Insurance is a digital asset, right? Where is your insurance sitting? It is sitting in the system of our insurance company, which says that X, Y, Z happens, you get ABC money, and that essentially is a digital asset because unless that digital footprint exists, you do not really know if you have that coverage or not. So that's a digital asset as well. So essentially various kinds of digital assets which predates Web3. We're not just talking Web3 digital assets, we're talking pre-Web3 digital assets as well, and those digital assets are also part of this world. And the second was the store of value. Right? Now, within the blockchain ecosystem, we saw that everybody had a great store of value coming up, like we had Ethereum, we had Bitcoin, we had various kinds of store of value that are coming up. Great concepts, right? But it turns out we already had a store of value, right? We call it an Indian rupee, right? We've been using it for a while and it's been, I'm not trying to brag here, it has about 1.4 billion users, right? I do not have an adoption problem. Ethereum is bragging of 100 million, I have 1.4 billion, right? So it doesn't really make sense to change something that's already working in the world, right? I already have a store of value, right? So that's the fundamental idea. I already have a store of value, just that the store of value is not as fancy as Ethereum, doesn't use that technology. So let's see what we can do with that, right? So we went into more dividing what's going on in the market and we found out, it cannot be just a store of value. Okay, we understand, let's make Indian rupee Web3 compatible, let's come up with easy, we can do a lot of things, we can see what the market wants, but we want to also see fundamentally, is this Web3 going to be adopted? And what does this Web3 thing or decentralization thing mean? So one thing we saw, and it's been seen across the market, if you look at the history of digitization, you will see that the world has gone through sinusoids of centralization and decentralization. It's not the first time we are going through it. It's not the first rodeo of centralization and decentralization. And it's very clear that we have, in the last 10 years, entered a phase where people are decentralizing digital economy and we are getting ready for quantum computing. Once it comes in, we will see the next wave of centralization of economy when we see things that quantum computing can help, but it's still super expensive to maintain on a distributed level. Hence, we will centralize to do certain activities with quantum. Right? Digital economy, on the other hand, because of Moore's law, has come to a place where it is much better served in a decentralized way. But what it also meant is that looking at decentralized economy, we saw that the good idea of people owning their thing in their own wallets rather than custodian model, which is prevalent in the Web2 economy. Right? In Web2 economy, there were a lot of custodian models. You have a Facebook account, Facebook goes out of business, your photographs, everything in your life that you've stored for so many years is gone out. Poof. Right? It is in their interest, by the way, to not go out of business, but essentially that's a risk to underwrite. And that's fundamental, right? But the idea of self-sovereign identity and the fact that I can actually hold whatever I have in my custody and have total control over it is a mighty good idea. And definitely makes a lot of merit in an economy like us, where 1.4 billion people's, any sort of custodianship for 1.4 billion people is a huge problem, it's a huge threat perception for an attack. Right? Then the second thing is entitlements linked to these identities, right? Every time I have an identity, what do I do? For example, as simple as what is my Ghana playlist? Can I go to Wing and actually use my Ghana playlist in my Wing account? As simple as that, to something as complex as do I get money, or something as thing as can I get my payments because I am the poor, and I actually want to achieve certain financial Manrega schemes, or I want to get some assistance or some subsidies that I am entitled to because I am in certain phase in my life, right? So all these entitlements, right, need to be programmably governed by this platform. Can I do it in a distributed way, in a scaled way, in a secured way? Now it's starting to make sense, right? We wanted to secure this, we wanted to scale this, we want to be flexible so that more than one model can exist in this country. Because as I said, and even the talk I said, right, this is a country of various different groups of people, different experiences, different diverse crowds, diverse policies, diverse practices, and one solution can fit all will not work. I mean, a few days back I was in Singapore and we were having this discussion with somebody in Singapore. But the reality of Singapore and Switzerland is that the population is 5 million. 5 million. You know, in the language of Hyderabad, हम सिकंदराबाद भी नहीं पहुंचेंगे. There's 5 million. Right? We will not even get to Sikandrabad. We will not get out of Gachibowli for that matter. Right? So that's the fundamental of difference between us. And Gachibowli is not one place. Gachibowli has that rural Gachibowli which have people living for so many years who have totally different things, important things in their life compared to me who has a very different experience in his life. And whatever we build needs to be flexible for both those people. It cannot be one of them, right? So we need to build that, right? And then overall we understood, it's a great idea that if we create a blockchain, then we can reduce the cost. That's nice. We can optimize our value chain. That's great. So we decided, okay, these are the features of distributed digital infrastructure that we need to have. So then we started looking at something that I just talked about. We have seen in the market, in the Web3 world, that there is this pattern where people say that we are a community, right? And we are a community of Ethereum users, we are a community of Solana users, we are a community of EOS users. And turns out the community was not copyrighted by Web3 at all, and the community existed in English much before that. And we are a community of a country which follows a certain set of constitutions. We follow a certain set of agencies and rules that are put in place to protect ourselves from big wealth flights, from users fragmenting the market or influencing our economy in a way that we do not want to happen. It might have, so yes, there are threats and we need to take care of those threats, right? And that, unlike in Web3 world where we have a technology that evolved and that converted into a community and that converted into a network of services in that community, we have the privilege of actually having a community and a network already in place, because banking services is not new to India. So essentially, we already have through UPI and through various things, we already have a network of financial services which you use, right? And NPCI, by virtue of being a payment rails, has been enabling this community for last 10-15 years of its existence, right? And we're doing a decent job at that, right? So let's look at it. We could do better. But essentially we are doing a decent job. That's the reason we've been praised to be the number one digital technology stack in the world. Right? We are doing a decent job there. So we do have some things going on, and we don't need to re-engineer or we need to totally go into Web3 and start simulating what Web3 is doing, because certain assets we have, we can leverage, certain values that we need to seek out, we need to build. And that's what when we started looking at, so if a community is grown around shared value system of how to participate, how to update the rules, and this is what all Web3 communities are essentially telling you on a technological level. How do I participate? How do I settle my transaction? How do I make sure a certain set of rules are applied across all the peoples in the community? And that's how EIC, EC, all these things work. So we said, that's a great idea. What if we enable that? But instead of the rules that have been set arbitrarily, we have a set of rules, right? That is set up by the agencies, right? And that's where the distributed public infrastructure came in with, hey, let's start building bridges to various of these communities and stating that, hey, you know what? If you are interested in building community, if you want to participate in the community we call the Indian community, that is governed by the Constitution of India, it is governed by the state agency, by the rules that are set out by the agencies that are working to decentralize certain functions in India. I will give you an infrastructure to do that. So this is what digital distributed public infrastructure is all about. It's about creating that roadmap. This is about creating that infrastructure that allows any particular ecosystem to actually show their compliance to the rules and regulations of a geofenced area which lives under the border of India. Right? And for the financial systems that are possible to do that. So we looked at 4 big pieces that came out. One is proof of compliance. Right? When we started building this. Right? So when we look at proof of compliance, we looked at assets, so there could be a securities. Today, just a quick, I will throw some quick numbers. Today, our bond market is about 10 times the size of the equity market, right? But our bond market is highly liquid in nature, only few people participate, right? And essentially, it is only 15% of our overall debt market, right? That essentially means there is a huge amount of money which only exchanges hand once through its entire life cycle. Right? Mostly these instruments, securities, that are meant for maintaining liquidity so that I can actually do more financial transactions with the same amount of money. And that's the reason GDP is calculated at transactional level, and we say that, hey, you know what, rent aggregate of every transaction that India is doing is basically our GDP. And that's fundamentally what we're doing. But this is a huge part. And if you look at developed countries, this ratio is around 60%. We at India level at 15%. Huge headspace. Think of it, equity market headspace. Still exists within our country as a potential to be a growth engine for our country. Why we can't do it? Because it's too expensive to trade them more than once. Can I actually open that up? Can I make asset standards that actually solve this problem? Can I make identity standards for people who actually interact and own these assets? These identity standards would need certain market practice, and I do not want everybody and anybody to know that I did that trade. But agencies, governments, should be able to say, hey, did you do it according to the rule? Are you doing something that is anti-banking? Let me just check. Right? And that doesn't necessarily mean that check has to be you giving out report to somebody coming out. If you are able to do the transaction, most probably you are not doing anything wrong. So that is proof of compliance protocol, where we basically build compliance into the platform, and when you wrap these APIs into your platform, talking to our platform, you are able to prove who you are, what is the asset standard you follow. If that asset standard is matching up the standards that we basically have set out at an agency level, if you are working in a regulated landscape. I'm not talking about any NFT marketplaces which are looking at retail. I'm talking about security. I'm talking about insurance. I'm talking about different kind of derivative instruments which would come on this. Right? The second piece is proof of health. I need to be sure that anything that is coming on this infrastructure, or anybody who's building up infrastructure as part of this ecosystem, is running healthy and keeping a good rate, and it is not affecting other part of infrastructure. Right? If there is a spike in one part of my infrastructure, it doesn't help, doesn't impact. Because if I created, think of it if we thought about it like a single blockchain system. It is not delivery upfront, but if it is a single blockchain system, it is like connecting all the rivers. Now, there's a big $1 billion sale in retail, and suddenly my other market spaces are now suffering because of the $1 billion sale going on. Right? That cannot happen. So how is these infrastructures self-managing their spikes? Right? So this is also very important. Right? I cannot wait for another one transaction to finish because my proof of compliance infrastructure is too busy looking at some other transaction. Right? So how am I handling that? Proof of governance infrastructures, if you are in a regulated landscape, then you basically be sure that you have created a governance structure for it and you're following through on that governance structure. It doesn't mean that the platform is, you have to tell the platform that, hey, am I governing the rules? I'm not setting up the rules, you set up the rules, but make sure that when you are actually executing the rules, they have been followed through. So that's the proof of governance landscape. And then the last but most important is interoperability infrastructure. And we saw there were bridges. Right? So those bridges have to interoperate with with native infrastructures, which are basically compliant infrastructure built on our platform or built with the technology that our platform is providing, or non-native infrastructures that already exist in the world, and they are actually able to interoperate. And so tomorrow you already have a dApp on Ethereum or on Polygon, and you basically say that, hey, I want to do security trading on Polygon. Go ahead, wonderful. But you basically are in a regulated market scale, so you basically wrap these particular APIs so that SEBI can actually look into it, right? And SEBI is able to see that first because you're able to give your proof of compliance. There is a degree of bindability to the transaction. And in that particular landscape, I am able to provide what this landscape provides in return. It provides you the prepayment rate of a currency which has 1.4 billion users. The first thing I talked about. Right? We have 1.4 billion users already of our store of our currency. So we will be able to provide that particular landscape and in a way where we know that when that money was used, no rules were broken. So that's been last part of it. To summarize, distributed public infrastructure would lower the transaction cost of improving penetration of services to the population pyramid. Essentially, because I am taking the compliance out, I'm basically building it into the infrastructure, so you basically have a lower cost, classical blockchain thing. Eventual adoption of user-led identities would make identity theft. These are obvious, right? But one of the more important things is that current DeFi infrastructure, which we personally see and what we have observed so far, is broken down into two parts. One is predominantly creating classical products or classical finance products on DeFi in the DeFi landscape. Another is long-tail transactions for people who are not able to get liquidity from the classical market going to DeFi at higher interest rate. By this, we would be able to open up DeFi market spaces to actually participate in the mainstream economy. Right? And because they are compliant, they don't need to worry. That is very important. Compliance means decentralization of tools without decentralization of command control structures. So that's the fundamental that we do have to with. And this is how world will be. Some of the things that you're already building, something you have already heard, you would be seeing multiple layers of dApp and applications talking to multiple payment schemes, and those payment schemes could be IMPS. A message-based payment scheme could be a tokenized payment scheme like a CBDC, or it could be a securities market. And that is basically interacting through a compliance infrastructure which all agencies are part of. Those agencies are essentially taking compliance, checking that the particular transaction set are following through all the compliances. And that's at a fundamental what distributed decentralized infrastructure, public infrastructure looks like. That would be the last of my presentation slide, and that would be it.